Okay, so in this tutorial we are going to sort our enemy spawners. There's a few things we need to do first. I'll go back here. I created a game manager, so create C# script, name it game manager, and Unity will automatically make this gear for game manager. So inside my game manager I made a region. So all that is hashtag region. Let me make another one so I can show you. So hashtag region, then whatever you want to name the region, and then you have to end the region. End region. And so what this does is anything that's in between here can get hidden when you click this little minus sign on the side. Let me get rid of that. But for now, all I have is a public static int minutes. And static is just a global variable that every script can access without having a reference to the game manager. And so in our timer script that we made last time, all I did was make another method called send time to game manager, and I called it from set time, which really I want to move this to update because there's no point in having it in set time if there's not some kind of condition that it needs to meet before it sends it. Basically all it is calling that static variable from game manager minutes, and making that equal to minutes. And that's it. Okay, so the next thing I did was in my enemies folder, let this compile because I changed things. And this is why I like to make the scripts beforehand and then do the videos, because it takes a second to compile. It makes the videos longer. So in my enemies folder, I made a folder called enemy pools, and in that I made tier 1 enemies C# script. And all this is it's going to generate a list of objects and pool them in the game. So it's going to create these objects in the hierarchy when we start the game up. Go ahead and copy this. Alright, and then the other thing that I did was I created this enemy spawner script. So in this spawner script, we want a float to tell us when to spawn. So we're going to make a counter, and then we have a serialized field float, spawn time. We want it visible in the inspector, but we don't want anything else messing with it. That's why it's serialized field and a private float. Vector 2 spawn point. This camera bounds I put in there, but you don't need to copy that because it doesn't do anything right now. I just never took it out. Matter of fact, I'm going to take it out now, so you don't need this. Alright. So in update, let's go back here. So in update, I called a few methods. Set spawn time. This method, set spawn time, actually sets our counter. So our spawn counter is minus equal time dot delta time. So it's going to count down in seconds. And then in our update method, if spawn counter is less or equal to 0, we're going to set our spawn location and spawn enemy. And so in our set spawn location, again, don't pay attention to this because we don't need that. So I'm just getting rid of it. I have an int. I'm creating an int, a random number, which is a random range between 1 and 5. We only need 4, so you do 1 and 5 because 5 is never called. Alright, so we're going to do a switch statement, which is kind of like pseudo state machine. Basically, based on this number, case 1. So you set it up like a if statement. I'm sorry. Let me explain this. So you set it up like an if statement. So switch random number. All right. In case is kind of the same thing. If it's 1, then do this. Which what we're going to do is we're going to set the spawn point to the right with a random Y generation. Case, and then we're going to break. You have to put break. You got to put case with colon. So case value colon, then break with semicolon, and that's the end of your statement there. All right, and the next one is spawn from left. All right. So this one's going to be on the left-hand side of the screen if it's 2. If it's 3. If it's 3, it's going to be on the top, and if it's 4, it's going to be from the bottom. So go ahead and pause it and copy this, and then what we're going to do is set this spawn timer to spawn time, so it resets the timer, so it'll count down again. Alright, so when it spawns the enemy, what we're going to do is we're going to go to game, create a new game object, new enemy, and it's going to be equal to the tier 1 enemy from the pool that we created. We're going to get pooled object, so it's calling this method right here, which is looping, basically looping through the game objects that we put in our generated list, and it's going to pull, it's going to return one of the objects, so it's going to pull that from that list, and then put it into this new enemy. If there's not one to grab, then we're going to return, but if there is one to grab, we're going to set the position to spawn point, and then set it active. And this is what you get when you do all that. Let it compile. Take a second. So this is what you get. And so I have some debug statements in there that show this little white line, just so I can see, I can visualize where the things are spawning if I didn't have the enemies coming out of it. But this is what you get. They will always spawn outside of the camera. And the way that I got the numbers for the camera, for the spawn points, so let me, I skipped a section, I'm sorry. So on my camera, I placed the enemy spawner, okay? And on the enemy spawner, I placed the enemy spawner script and the tier 1 enemy pool. And this is where all the enemy pools will go, is on the spawner, because we're going to create more enemies. And so the way that I got the numbers for the spawn points is, you know, you come in and you look at the squares. In here, look at the Unity units. So this is 10 Unity units right here. Okay, so 10, and this is half plus 1 plus a couple. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and that's how I got my X value. And the Y value is 14, and I counted it the exact same way. So this is the 0 line right here. So this is 14 going this way is where I got it. And then negative 14 this way, and the same thing with this is negative 19 on your x-axis to get your left-hand side of the screen. It might be different for you, so you need to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then come in here. If it's different, if it's not spawning right, you need to come in here to where we're spawning or setting the spawn point. And in here where it says transform position.x, plus 19, you need to set that number from that you count it from 0. So let's say yours is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's what you'd put right there if yours was 5. But since mine is 19, which is way over here, it'll change if you change your camera aspect. So oh, they don't have 4.3 in here anymore. So it changes when I did that. So it depends on where you want them to spawn outside of your camera. But you need to count each Unity unit and come in and press put it into this number. We can also do something different. Do a serialized field, float, and call it X offset and Y offset. Control D duplicates. That way you don't have to type so much. You know, learn your shortcuts. We can make X offset equal to 19 and Y equal to 14. And since it's float, you really need to put F. Just call this X offset and call this Y offset. And I'm going to skip this and do it for every one of them, but you need to just go ahead and do it for every one of them. And like magic, they're all changed. Camera magic, that is. Okay, so as you can see, when the script's compiled, it automatically changed it to 19 and 14, and it should act the exact same as it did before. And let's see. Yep, there it is, in the same place. So you can change it from the inspector this way instead of having to go back into your code every time, which is really a little bit cleaner. But that's it. That's your enemy spawner. Next video, I will probably go over trying to kill the enemies. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. If you like this video, like and subscribe. And if you want to support me, visit me on Patreon. Thanks.